The reason I'm making this updated video is because I still get a ton of comments and emails asking, how do I soundproof the noise I'm making in my room from escaping the room? And people always ask, is it the same way as blocking sound from coming into the room? Well, the answer is yes and no. The biggest no is the echo inside the room. When you have echo, your voice actually sounds louder inside the room than it really is. So the first step to soundproofing your own noise is not the wall, it's the echo inside your own space. Once we deal with that, we'll move on to the door and the window because those are always the main escape points for sound. The good news is that it's way easier and cheaper to stop your own noise from leaving than it is from blocking outside noise from coming in. So let's start with deadening the noise inside the room. If your voice or music is bouncing around in here, that energy's got nowhere else to go but straight through the wall. So before you worry about soundproofing, you need to focus on sound deadening. In the real world, it's all part of noise reduction. Now, there's a few ways to do this depending on your budget, of course. Option 1, acoustic panels. These right here are the best performers. They've got insulation inside, usually something like rock wool or mineral wool, and they're built on a wooden frame covered in fabric. They don't just absorb the echo, they also look pretty good. You don't need to fill every square inch of the wall. Even a few panels placed strategically will make a noticeable difference. Rule of thumb is cover the walls around 30% of acoustic panels and you should be good. They cost anywhere between $50 and $100, but you'll need far fewer than you would if you use foam, let's say. Option 2, acoustic foam. This is the classic budget pick, but don't waste your money on the 1-inch thin stuff. Get the 2-inch or thicker. That's a sweet spot where you actually start noticing less echo. You can grab a pack of 25 online for around $50. You can also use moving blankets. If you're on a tight budget, these types of blankets are quite amazing. They're thick, dense, and you can literally hang them anywhere. They'll deaden the noise inside and slightly reduce how much noise escapes the room. You can hang them on the wall, across closet doors, even from the ceiling if you're recording. Now, if you want to go a step further, you can try acoustic wallpaper or fabric panels. They don't block much sound, but they help absorb reflection so you're not bouncing straight off hard drywall. After you've got the walls treated, throw down an area rug or carpet tiles. Hardwood or laminate floors reflect sounds just like mirror reflects light. Soft surfaces absorbs it, so if your floor is bare, that echo is not gonna go anywhere, but at this point, your voice will sound a lot more controlled inside the room, and that means a lot less sound bleeding through the walls. We're not done yet, because if you go outside your room and still hear yourself clearly, that noise is most likely escaping from the door or the window, not the walls. So we'll need to fix that first. First thing is, if your noise is going outside and disrupting the neighbors, let's work on the windows, because those windows are most likely thin and full of gaps. I know when you search online, you'll see things like soundproof curtains, and honestly, that's mostly a marketing word. They help, but don't expect miracles. They're made with 3 layers, 2 outer layers, and a thick felt inner core, and they do a decent job at absorbing noise, but so-so at blocking noise. If you want to take it a step further, consider a window insert, a clear one that presses tightly in the window frame. They create an extra sealed air pocket, and that makes a big difference for both inside and outside noise. If you're already got double pane or triple pane window, you'll see a smaller improvement, but for single pane window, inserts are the right way to go. You'll notice it night and day because a double pane window already has the air gap in between the 2 window panes. A single doesn't have that. So now you're creating an air gap with that window panel, which will help immensely. But if you're more of a DIY person, you can build your own window plug. A wooden frame, insulation inside, a sheet of mass-loaded vinyl, and a bit of fabric to make it look clean. Pop it in when you need quiet and pull it out when you're done. And here's something people forget all the time. Seal every crack around the window trim. Even a tiny gap can leak a lot of sound back in. Use acoustic caulk or silicone sealant, something that stays flexible so it doesn't crack over time. Once your window is sealed up and treated, you've just eliminated one of the biggest escape routes for your own noise. And I'll also have links in the description below of everything, all the products I talk about in this video to make it easier for you to go and buy. Now, the next one, if you're disturbing the people inside the house, well, that's probably your door, because most interior doors are hollow core, which means they're basically cardboard inside, honeycomb shape. They do nothing to stop sound. First thing, check for gaps. Turn off the lights in your room, and if you can see light around the frame or underneath, that's exactly where sound is leaking out. Start with the bottom gap. That's the biggest culprit. Install a U-shaped door sweep. It slides right under the door, takes around 30 seconds, and you can pull it off later if you're renting or if the room is getting stuffy because you've just screwed up the airflow inside the room. It's one of the simplest soundproofing fixes that actually work in blocking sound from traveling outside. Next, add weather strip around the door frame. Stick it along the door stop so the door closes tightly with no wiggle room. It'll make the door seal much better. If you want a bigger improvement, as I was saying, your hollow core door inside your home is letting a lot of noise in. You can switch it for a solid core door. It looks identical, fits the same hinges, and is roughly double the weight. That extra mass makes a huge difference in blocking sound. You can also use an acoustic door panel. Some has mass-loaded vinyl sandwiched inside with insulation. They're usually custom made and a little bit expensive, but they do work. I tested one a few years back and it actually surprised me how much noise it blocked. Just expect to pay between $400 and $600, maybe even $800 depending on where you buy it. And just like the windows, seal the edges. Use acoustic sealant or high quality silicone caulking anywhere light seeps through. Once that's done, the door should feel a lot heavier, tighter, and you'll notice a big drop in sound leakage. Now, if you've done everything and the noise is still coming out of the room and you know it's the wall, you don't have to tear anything down. You can keep the wall as is. The easiest way is just to detach the baseboard, get yourself a couple of outlet extenders, and add one layer of 5/8 of an inch drywall, which is thicker than your 1/2 inch and will stop more noise from bleeding through. Now, if you want to take it a step further, you can add a layer of mass-loaded vinyl sandwiched in between those 2 layers of drywall. Mass-loaded vinyl, also known as MLV, is dense, heavy, and flexible. Perfect for blocking sound. Some people say MLV doesn't make much of a difference, but in my own test, it definitely does when it's installed across the entire wall, not just parts of the wall. Make sure you seal every seam with acoustic caulking or seam tape before you add the second layer of drywall. And of course, let's not forget the outlets or light switches, because if that backs into the room where the noise bleeds in, don't forget that's a hole right in the wall. You have to seal that, but you can't really seal the entire thing. One thing to know is if your wall is open, meaning you don't have any drywall, and you can see the back of your electrical box, then you'll notice that there's a bunch of holes. Now, before going and poking inside there, make sure to turn off the breaker for the power that leads to that box. Now, you can buy something called putty pads. They're made for fire prevention, but they also work very good at soundproofing. And what you do is just wrap the box with this type of putty and everything is sealed. But if your wall is closed and you can't get behind the box, what you can also do is there's a crack in between the drywall and that little electrical box. That crack, you can seal it with acoustic caulking or silicone caulking, and that will help a little bit from noise from going through from room to room. If you want to soundproof and you want to keep it on a budget, I have a video right here. I think it's called The Cheapest Budget Way to Soundproof a Room in 2025. Make sure to go watch that because it's pretty good. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time, assuming you subscribed.